Just as users prefer different sort options, some users want to change the default way of displaying listings. The most popular view options are View N results per page, or View as List or Grid. While good for users, view options can cause problems for search engines. Users can choose to view the listing page as a compact grid or as a detailed list. They can also choose the number of items per page. Usually, the grid view and the list view present the same SKUs, but the list view can use far more white space. This space can be filled with additional product information and represents a big SEO opportunity, as it can be used not only to increase the amount of content on the listing page, but also to create relevant contextual internal links to products or parent categories. The optimal approach for view options is to load the list view content in the source code in a way that is accessible to search engines, then use JavaScript to switch between views in the browser. You don't need to generate separate URLs for each view. In case you do generate separate URLs, those pages will contain duplicate content, and the way you handle them is with rel canonical to a default view. The default view has to be the page that loads the content for the list view. For example, these two URLs point the rel canonical to French door refrigerators/products. View N items. Many e-commerce websites have this feature, allowing users to select the number of items in the listing. If possible, your default product listing will be the View All page. If View All is not an option, then display a default number in the list and allow users to click on a View All link. If the View All generates an unmanageable list with thousands of items, let users choose between two numbers, where the second number is substantially bigger than the default number. Remember to keep users' preferences in a session or even a persistent cookie, but not in URL parameters. From an SEO perspective, View N items per page URLs are traditionally handled with rel canonical pointing to default listing pages, which are usually the index pages for department, category, or subcategory pages. For instance, on a listing page with 464 items, the View 180 items per page option can be kept in the key equal value pair, items per page equals 180, and the URL may look like this. This URL lists 180 items per page and will contain a rel canonical in the head section pointing to the category's default URL. This canonical URL lists only 60 items by default, and that's what search engines will index. This means that a larger subset, the one that lists 180 SKUs, canonicalizes to a smaller subset, the one that lists only 60 SKUs. This approach can create some issues because Google will index the content on the canonical page while ignoring the content from the rest of the View N items pages. In this case, you need to make sure that search engines can somehow access each of the items in the entire set. You can make this work, for example, with paginated content that is handled with rel previous and rel next, so that Google consolidates all component pages into the canonical URL. The use of rel canonical on a View N items per page is appropriate if the canonical points either to a View All page or the largest subset of items. The former option is not desirable if you want another page to surface in search results. The approaches for controlling View N items pages are similar to those for handling sorting. A View All page combined with Ajax or JavaScript to change the display in the browser, or uncrawlable Ajax or JavaScript links, or hash-marked URLs, or using the noindex meta tag. I mentioned these approaches in my preferred order, but keep in mind that while one approach might suit the particular conditions of one website, it may not work for another.